Hey guys, Marc Guberti here. A bit of a different video this time. So we actually have a guest coming on, Jess, Tiffany, who's going to share with us how we can get LinkedIn clients. This is part of an interview on the Profitable Public Speaking podcast. It should come out pretty soon. In that one, he talks about how to get more speaking gigs. So we'll hear about like how to get speaking gigs and stuff like that. It's going to be a little bit of this video. But I did ask him during that time, like, how do you get clients on LinkedIn? Because this guy is so good at LinkedIn. So let's get into it. Here we go.
There's a feature called Find Nearby on LinkedIn. So if you pull out your phone and you open your LinkedIn app, right at the bottom, I don't know if you'll be able to see on this camera, but there's a little person icon. It's two little people there, and you tap that, and what happens is it opens up, and up top, there is a button that says Find Nearby, way at the top. That's why. Okay, so you hit Find Nearby, and then what it'll do is it basically emits a Bluetooth signal around the room, and everybody that turns it on can see that and then connect to you right there on the spot. And then so what I do a lot of times is like if I'm doing a commercial or something, I actually open up the phone and I go, okay, click on my person, hit Find Nearby, and we connect the whole room at the same time. And then when I go home, I have 20 new connections or whatever the number is from the people that connected in the room. And I say, hey, glad you were at the meeting today. Hope that tip helped. And then, you know, you got a friend for life because you just showed them the coolest thing they've ever seen. But that tip really gets you, you know, and if you do that strategically in events where there's other speakers or there's, you know, speaker coordinators, things like that, you can get a lot of connections within seconds. And it's just a fantastic little tool.
And that is a really great tip from Jess, because I feel like there are so many people who go to these events just trying to hand out business cards, trying to meet everyone, trying to sign everyone up to be a client in the spot. But at events, you get clients by having really deep conversations with a few people. And naturally, at really big events like Podcast Movement, where you've got thousands of people going to them, you can't talk to everyone. So Jess has a really great tip that he just shared, how you can interact with more people. Even if you don't meet them at the event, you can talk about the event. And it's pretty much, instead of you having to hand out business cards to everyone and hoping everyone follows up, you do the follow-up on LinkedIn in the moment. And it makes it really easy for you to build that presence during the event and have all the connections ready to turn them into the clients. Let's get into the next tip.
Another thing I do a lot is, so now this is like if I want to get into like an association or something to speak, what I'll do is I'll actually go to hunter.io, which is a basic place where you get email addresses. And so this is kind of a little sneaky trick here, but basically you type in like Microsoft.com, for instance, and it'll give you a list of about 20 different email addresses for that company. So then what I do is I copy paste those and I put them in there's a certain format you have to put. I think it's a comma, space or something. But so I put it in that format, and then I go to LinkedIn and I do under my network again and connections, there's a thing that says more options, and you go into more options and you can actually invite by email. So what I'll do is I'll take those 20 emails and I'll paste it in there. And so now I don't normally do this because I'm very big on personal connections and you know, personalized messages and finding that common piece. But this is kind of a ninja trick to get into, you know, some of these companies that are hard to get into. So you send it to these 20 people. Now maybe only 3 of them connect to you. But what you do then is you go back to those 3 people and you say, wow, thanks for connecting. I'm so glad we were able to connect. See, I'm trying to get a hold of the person in human resources that does all the speaking events. Do you know who that person is? And usually 1 out of the 3 knows who that person is. And then once I have that name, then I go back into LinkedIn. I search by name, find that person, and then I go, hey, Jimmy, John over here said that you're the person I need to talk to about speaking. And basically you just, it's a inferred referral. So you didn't get actually referred like because you're a buddy or anything, but somebody told you who there was. But when I say, hey, you know, John said to reach out or whatever, all of a sudden I have an automatic like in, because that person's like, oh, wow, somebody from in my company said I should talk to this guy, so therefore I should talk to this guy. And if you get lucky, it's an executive or something that's above the guy that you're talking to, and then it's a real urgency to talk to you. It doesn't happen often, but occasionally you'll get like 3 bosses up, and then he refers down to the HR manager, and all of a sudden it's like, the seat's on fire. I need to contact this Jess Tiffany guy because my CMO said to talk to him or whatever. So that does happen occasionally too if you get lucky. But the big thing is just finding that way to navigate to get to the right person. And so that's just kind of a backwards, sneaky way to kind of get, if you can, just find it by searching through the LinkedIn search.
And that is a really great tip for speakers and people just using LinkedIn to get clients alike, because those big companies like Microsoft, I mean, they could be a client for some people. And if you speak there, or if you help a company like Microsoft with their social media or whatever it is that you do, or the equivalent of Microsoft in your space, then think about what kind of an impression that's going to set for potential clients. So again, the context is profitable public speaking. That's where Jess and I did our interview. But this is a great way to get on more stages, get on these corporate stages where you could be getting paid a lot of money to be giving these talks, but at the same time, you are positioning yourself as a big time authority by speaking to those kinds of corporations. And that's just going to help you get a lot more clients if you could say that you've worked with companies like that. So Jess, really great tip. We've got 1 tip left to go. And Jess, take it away.
Another thing is following hashtags like hashtag summit or hashtag speaker, hashtag, the name of some event, and then finding out who those people are, who the events are. And then you can go to the website for that event. And then what I like to do is I like to go through and find every speaker that's in the list and just send them an invite and say, hey, I see you're speaking at the XYZ conference. Man, I'm excited. That sounds like an awesome event. I'd be open to connect with a person of your caliber. And basically, I proactively do that. Now, what's even better is if I'm going to that conference, well, then I walk up and I say, hey, I'm Jess Tiffany. I sent you an invite the other day on LinkedIn, if you remember that. And they're like, oh, yeah, Jess Tiffany. Yeah, I remember. I looked at your profile. And all of a sudden, it went from a cold, conversation and like, yeah, who the heck are you, to all of a sudden, you're my best buddy on LinkedIn, even though we just met, 5 days previously. But it just really changes the dynamic. And I've done that at several conferences that I've gone to, and the reaction you get from the speakers, just the fact that I recognize them and I walked up to them because they have pictures on all the websites. So you go, okay, this is Joe Thomas. And you look through the crowd and you see that guy that's right there and walk up, hey, are you Joe? Yeah, I'm Jess from LinkedIn. And then all of a sudden you got a relationship, and then usually you end up sitting down for 15 minutes and chatting about the industry and finding out who they know that got them into that speaking gig. And then once you do that, you can kind of, build, connect to that person and reach out to that person. Anyway, it's just a great tip.
And hashtags are also really great for finding people who may have an issue in your space that you can solve, and that turns into coaching or services or something like that. So like for hashtag podcasting, if there's someone who wants to learn how to be a podcaster and I find that individual through the hashtag, I'm going to look through their profile, reach out, build a relationship. And then what happens is some of these people, they join me on a strategy call, they end up becoming a client. So you can use hashtags to find people who need a solution to something going on that the solution to, and you can use it to, as Jess is mentioning here, get a head start with the networking at the different events that you're going to, because getting that head start really sets you up for having a great time as an attendee or as a speaker. Because with events, being an attendee is so underrated. I feel like everyone just wants to be on the stage, but you could also do a lot as an attendee. So anyway, Jess, thanks so much for coming on. That's this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. It's never too late. What I want you guys to do, dream big, achieve greatness, unlock your potential today.